Hello everyone, welcome to another UK film review video review. My name's James Learoyd, and today I'm talking about a new horror short film called It Must Be Done, written, directed, shot and edited by Heather Bayles. This is an incredibly disturbing and strange short film about lots of things. The filmmaker has said that they don't want any reviews to delve into spoilers, so I'll just say that it touches on some very dark subject matter. It's about domestic abuse. It centers around this family, a mother, her two children, but most importantly, the grandmother, who is a devout Christian, and after her daughter's been suffering this kind of abuse, she wants to take matters into her own hands. And it's a very just shocking and overwhelming film. And there are lots of strong aspects to it, although I have to admit that I did struggle with this film a little bit, because there are just a couple of aspects of it that are very conflicting to me. And I'm speaking of, stylistic traits. I'm also speaking in terms of the narrative and the storytelling. There are just a few characteristics that really clash in a weird way, and I feel like I should address those things first before just getting into what you can praise about it, because I'm thinking of, if a viewer is going into this film not knowing anything about it, I think the first thing that they might reject or come into conflict with is the sort of clash of tonal styles, which is the fact that this film wants to be about something really disturbing and unfortunately very prevalent in the world, this sort of tragically common aggression and abuse that happens, and that's what this film is about. But then this film also falls into a certain style and a certain aesthetic, which is much more sort of conventional, gore-driven horror. There are some moments that are very over the top and heightened and cartoonish, and I just feel like that approach to filmmaking sort of clashes with that kind of deeper exploration of something so upsetting as domestic abuse. Many horror films have attempted to do this and explore that kind of theme with the sort of more conventional genre tropes on top of it. And I have to say, this is one of the better examples of those kinds of films. A lot of films have done it a lot worse than this. But the other thing is that to really accomplish this kind of deeper, it's sort of a modern trend of horror films, lots of horror films that explore trauma, these sort of more thinky style of horror films, some of which I don't really like at all in terms of the more popular ones. I think it works better in a short film format because you're not having to be exposed to this sort of constant in-your-face misery for a long period of time, and they can tell a more compact story and think more deliberately about exactly what they want to tell the audience at any given scene. But the other issue is that thematically this film gets a little bit muddled with the whole religious aspect, with the grandmother being this sort of orthodox Christian. They're trying to add a bit of commentary in there about how these extreme religious beliefs can lead to, and I think it's good to explore that, frankly. However, and many of the best horror films are actually about that. However, the fact that this film tries to squeeze that theme in as well as the abuse theme in makes the film feel very overwhelmed in terms of what it's trying to say. Having said all of that, there are many things that you can still really appreciate about this film, and in a way they actually are interconnected to the things that are slightly troublesome about the film. So the director's willingness to explore this kind of darkness, I find really admirable. You've got to have it as a horror filmmaker. You've got to have that willingness to just depict this kind of darkness, to be okay with the extreme nature of the genre often. And what you can tell is that the filmmaker really appreciates the power and potency of horror as a genre. It's just the most important genre and very easy to get wrong, but I think overall what we see in this film is someone who does comprehend the power of horror and is using it pretty effectively. I would also say that there's a real sense of confidence in the direction. The cinematography isn't incredible. This is, sort of a standard kind of digitally made, small-scale indie production. The lighting's a little flat and everything you'd expect from that. However, I don't think all of that really matters that much, because what I'm thinking is that each shot feels very, very deliberate and very, as I say, has a real compositional sort of confidence to it. There are none of these sort of hesitant medium shots where they're sort of cutting random subjects out of the frame. It's all much like the vibe of the film. It's a sort of aggressive style of filmmaking. It's a confrontational style of filmmaking, showing things to the audience that they need to see at certain times, and that makes it all the more disturbing and overwhelming of an experience, because there is a proper sense of, there's a vision here, definitely, from the filmmaker, and you've really got to admire that. The performances are incredibly heightened. I think that a lot of the performances are really good, though, like especially the grandmother is, that's a strong performance. Kind of Lynchian in how heightened it is. I mean, it's just because I was thinking of Wild at Heart a little bit while watching it, and the kind of mother character in that, the craziness of it. So I mean, that's a huge compliment. But yeah, a very intriguing and conflicting film. I admired its sort of ambition to take such a dark subject and kind of run with it. But yeah, ultimately, I know that for a lot of audience, this will maybe leave a bit of a sour taste in your mouth, because it leaves you with some sort of odd feelings and odd questions, but overall, definitely a very interesting and confident piece of filmmaking.